Hello everybody, today I have the pleasure to propose to you this key 54 entitled Jealousy and Criticism. Like usually, we're gonna proceed in 4 steps. First, we're gonna define these concepts. Then we'll see the reason for being of managing properly this jealousy and criticism. And then we will see around 30 different techniques and tips to manage them. Well, what is it concretely, first of all? So I'm gonna define a little bit. So like a block, okay? So jealousy and envy, it's not, let's say, regarding love as in general, okay? So jealousy, envy, and criticism, which is a kind of judgment. What is it concretely? Is a kind of judgment, okay, for which we feel a kind of injustice and or a comparison and or something like a frustration, but it generates systematically a hate or bitterness for those who are emitting and or for those who are receiving. Okay, so concretely, it generates bad waves, bad vibration, low vibration. Okay, so we're gonna fragment and we're gonna separate, because there is first the emission, the fact to emit, okay, jealousy and criticism, okay, which is the consequences of the frustration due to, let's say, inner conflicts, okay. Also because of the ego, most of the time is a lack of cleansing. We didn't manage properly. We will see later what is regarding the ego. And okay, it can be also for good reason, in certain extent, the notion of injustice. Okay, so first, emitting a criticism of or jealousy. Secondly, is to be victim of criticism and jealousy. Third aspect is the fact, as I said, we can summarize with the notion of judgment. A judgment is never objective, is systematically subjective, depending on the perception, depending on the context, depending of the complexion of the person who judged, and depending on the person judged. Okay, so this is a kind of full combo, quite difficult, but it's systematically subjective. Okay, so envy and jealousy is more a notion of feeling. Okay, and criticism is more linked to analytic dimension, is more reflection, is more kind of opinion. Okay, criticism comes from Greek, which is kritikos, okay, which means literally sorting or discerning, referring to the notion of the key 46, discernment. But discernment is like a lucidity, and normally criticism, it can be positive or negative. When you have literary criticism, okay, for literature, it's not bashing a novel or a writer, an author, and so on. No, not at all. It's just, it can be positive, can be negative. When you say from someone who has a critical mind, or this is, can just like being able and capable to say to someone the positive aspect, the forces and the drawbacks, the weaknesses, and so on is not bad. Okay, but for this key, we will focus exclusively on the negative criticism. Okay, because you can have also constructive criticism. Just to help people to improve themselves and so on. But of course, you can imagine that this depends on the good tact, depends on the diplomacy, the way of saying, and so on and so forth, of course. So, but let's say the emission and or the reception of jealousy, envy, criticism brings about denigration most of the time, bad waves, let's say bad energies, and impeding the ascension, okay? Impeding the awakening. Why? Because it's taking, it's reducing the high frequencies in general for those who are emitting, for those who are receiving. Okay, so for this reason, we can consider it's important, and this is the reason for being of this key is the following. Why? Okay, what's the purpose of it? What's the field of application? But it's simple. First is to be at peace, to be peaceful, okay, in general, to be stable, okay, not shaking, to have some turbulence as soon as you receive an attack in a certain extent, or you're a victim of jealousy. The goal of good management of this is to rise, to continue to keep on rising your energy, your vibration, your high energies and frequencies in general, love, joy, unity, harmony, all these beautiful words, let's say prerequisites to access to eternal, let's say, process of inner journey, which is the awakening, and to be in good health. Okay, why? Because if you are always criticizing, if you are always victim and affected by jealousy, envy, and so on, you are affected in your health. Okay, your vibration, everything is energy. So you affect your mindset. So thereby you affect, this is epigenetics, the metabolism through your DNA and so on, because our DNA is, let's say, let's function and according to our mindsets. So everything is linked thereby. Okay, so that's why it's so important. And also the bad eye, in a certain extent, the evil eye from people always judging you and so on, or if you feel frustrated and sad and so on because of unfounded judgments, is the same result. At the end, you affect your health in general. Well, six different aspects before starting with 30 different techniques and tips. The first one is to keep in mind that the judge most of the time has been hurt, and frustrated most of the time. Okay, most of the time is this person is suffering because of different reasons, good or bad reasons, trauma, whatever, but most of the time is his or her own problems, not necessarily towards you. So that's why the second point I wanted to mention, don't take criticism and or jealousy personal. Don't take anything personal, okay? This is the notion of mirror game, okay? Most of the time is a projection, okay, of those who are emitting that. Is not because of you, it is because of them. They have something, the inner battle, they have inner conflict, they didn't manage, okay? So this is part of, the philosophy, the four agreements, Wisdom Toltec collection, okay, the book, if you know it. This is one of the four pillars. One of them is intention, we saw for key 51. Okay, so this one concretely is don't take anything personal. Okay, that's really important. The third one is to avoid comparison. Okay, avoiding comparison allows you to avoid jealousy and criticism as well. Fourth is keep in mind that most of the judgments is the consequences of someone who is not confident, and thereby just to reassure themselves. Okay, what does it mean? It's a kind of inferiority complex. It's like when someone is showing off all the time, okay, pretending, arrogant and so on. Most of the time in psychology is because this person is not really comfortable and is not self-confident. So he needs to prove to himself, okay, like auto-conditioning, and to pretend for other people. So keep this in mind. Okay, most of the time the judgment, those who are always criticizing other people, blaming and so on, is because they just want to reassure themselves that they are superior, and because they have a complex inferiority complex. Keep this in mind, very important. Okay, as I say, we're gonna focus on unfounded negative criticism, because normally positive criticism is teaching, okay, is a lecture, is like a symptom. A symptom for a disease is not negative. Is you know, when you have a buttons in your car indicating you that I don't know, you don't have a fuel anymore, you don't blame this, okay? It's a symptom. Symptom is the same thing. If you have some symptoms, it's just to inform, to warn you to take some corrective actions. It's the same principle. So normally, if it's constructive criticism, is supposed to help you and to improve yourself, okay? So this is important. But of course, as we say, there is the tact, there is the diplomacy, there is the way of saying, the manner, and so on and so forth, of course. Then also one of them for this is what we saw with the non-violence communication, the previous key 52, empathy, non-violent communication. To express properly, you need your perception, your feeling, and also the other people, the interlocutor is doing exactly the same, okay? So everything could be well explained, okay? I mean, everything can be explained properly, okay? Nicely, gently, with diplomacy and so on. That's the point. With, let's say, transparency, okay? Because the goal of this is not to avoid criticism, to avoid jealousy and so on. I mean, the world is like it is, okay? So you cannot change people. You can just change yourself for not suffering eventually of receiving too much criticism. That's the point, okay? So it's just your perception that we invite you to change if you think it's important or not, okay? So, but yeah, the thing is the middle way, okay? Too much blaming, criticizing when it's negative, and at the other extreme is is the fact that some people, if they don't talk because they are ashamed or they are frustrated or they cannot because of, I don't know, dictatorship and so on, they can just be hypocrites. Okay, so hypo in Greek, it means under. Under means it's unofficial. Okay, so it means that it's not expressed, but it's thoughts. So it's worse, you know. So, you know, two ways of thinking and perceiving. In the Scandinavian countries, like Norway, like Sweden, Denmark, can associate Finland as well. And this is, even the local people say that they are really a society based on consensus and so on. They always want a kind of harmony and so on, respectful and so on, society. But some of them, they reproach that they cannot afford to express themselves. Okay, it's the same thing. It's different phenomenon. This is more for harmony and so on. But I lived in China for more than 10 years, and in China there is almost no critical thinking, no critical mind. Okay, and to be honest with you, this is sometimes a little bit dull, in a sense that, okay, probably I come from one of the most, let's say, the top 3 country in the world for criticism. Okay, French people are known for that. You know, even the origin of French people, they are francs, and it's not for no reason. Okay, when you say to someone he's frank, it means is straightforward. Okay, so French people, when we say that, for joking sometimes, that the national game in France is demonstrating, striking and so on, is not a legend. And you know, this is really interesting. Why? Because we try to apply the middle way. Okay, so not the extremes, but even that, you know, the unions, trade unions, the unions. In France, it's only 7% of the people who are there, they are linked to a union. Okay, so it's nothing. Is one of the, I mean, the percentage the lowest in Europe. Okay, the top are the countries from Scandinavia, Sweden, and so on, Norway. Germany is same, quite high, like 60% and so on. And they are never on strike. They are never demonstrating and so on. Why? Because they have different approach. They discuss first, okay, and they strike only if they don't find any agreements. So they are more pragmatic. Why? Because they just go around the table and they say, they put on the table everything and all the ins, the outs, the inputs and so on, and they mix up and they see the big picture. Like, okay, if we demonstrate because you don't access to our demands, we're gonna have a strike for this day, amounts of days, you're gonna lose this money and so on. And they go most of the time much more in the efficiency, much more than in France, for example. And it's not criticizing France and or saying they're better and so on. It's not the point. It's just to say that it's not because you have lots of people in unions that necessarily, you can be, because this is the good balance is either you don't say anything, either you talk too much, but talking too much is not a big deal as long as it is constructive criticism. Okay, I will come back on this later on because it's really important. Let's see the different techniques, 15 techniques to manage, okay, the criticism and the jealousies from others. And then we will see 10 techniques from managing your own criticism and jealousy. Okay, so the first one is to ignore, don't pay attention. This is the first one. Okay, you receive jealousy, you're the victim of jealousy, you're a victim of criticism, you don't pay attention. Okay, this is one of the techniques. Personally, I cannot do. It's impossible for me. I'm obliged to say something, otherwise I feel frustrated. It's just a technique. It's good for certain of you, for certain people, not for everybody. Okay, just I share with you. Secondly is the Lex Talionis. Lex Talionis, I talk about that already. It's from Hammurabi, Babylon period. It's 1850 years before Jesus Christ in Babylon. It's an eye for an eye, okay? A tooth for a tooth, a teeth for a teeth, for which Gandhi said in this an eye for an eye, this is the humanity who will remains blind, okay? So, let's say it's to play the mirror. You punch me, I punch you back. Okay, so it's like, in physics, the vector. Okay, this is the reaction. You have a force, you give back the same force. Okay, kind of boomerang effects. So this, personally, I don't practice that. It can work for very strong character, strong temper. When some people are very, very rigid and their diplomacy and so on, it doesn't work with them. You just break the structure. It can sometimes work, okay? But personally, it's not my cup of tea. Third one is the amplifier, okay? To amplify after being diplomatic, okay? What does it mean? It means that you say nicely things, and after that, for example, someone say to me, "Or you're fat," okay, thanks, and are you fucking fat, okay, and very aggressive and so on, and you can say to the person, you can say nicely and subtly, it's not really. I feel really frustrated. Yes, it's true. You're right. I have some problems since I'm kid, a problem of weight. All my family, we have this, it's the genetic, it's like this and so on. It's affect me a lot when you say that, and it's hurt me a lot and so on. But you know, imagine if I were saying to you that you are small and you are a midget and so on, it would not be nice. Okay. So finally, what did you do? You use the affective part. You use a kind of, you amplify, and you just punch him in a certain extent, because the guy, you don't imagine if I were saying to you, if I would have said to you, for example, so I didn't say, but I say to you finally that you are small. You are small. And the guy, maybe he has a complex of this. And because he has a complex, he prefer to punch first than to be punched, you know? So, but this is kind of the fact to amplify, okay? Then this is, you know, the Christ, Jesus, when he give the second check, okay? Well, this is not chic, sorry, second cheek, is subtlety, okay? Is subtle agreements. It means that, I give you an example. When I receive, for example, someone saying me something bad, okay, it's really blah blah boring, you know, this is not constructive, it's just bashing, it's just to destroy. So you can just be, instead of saying something very aggressive and so on, you can just say subtly, thank you for your nice comment, is always very welcome, especially in this period of doubt and so on. It's really nice and positive and very unconditional love. Good luck. I wish you good luck for you, because you need, apparently, and so on. You see, by doing that, is subtle, because the person normally, if this person is not lost completely, should activate repentance. It means that the person maybe will think, it's true that I've been a piece of shit for this one, okay? Or this is maybe lost. But anyway, just this is the notion of showing another side. It's not giving directly you second cheek. It's not that for the pleasure sadomasochist, of course not. It's just to give a certain subtle approach. Okay, then the advice. The advice for me is very, very good. What is it? It's when you have someone jealous, or you have someone always criticizing. Okay, all right. So the talented person that you are, what's your proposal? What's your suggestion? What's your option? What did you do concretely? What's the book? What's the conference? What's your action you undertook already? Thank you. And you see, when it's that, when you ask the opinion of you know, it's different. Because a lot of people, they're very talented in the big mouth. But when it's a question of proposing, and I can see, you know, for example, being manager and CEO of a company, two companies, sometimes it's difficult. You know, people are criticizing. When you ask them, it's difficult. Okay. So then, 6 is this sentence that we say in French: criticism is easy, art is difficult. For me, it's really important. He said a lot of things. Why? Because it's so easy to just, you know, you be sit down on the sofa and so on, and then you say, bad, boring. What about you? Okay, what do you do? What do you build? What do you construct? It's easy to destroy, yeah. So another way of saying is Tibetan and also Arabic proverb saying, if what you have to say is not more beautiful than silence, then shut up. Okay, so this is quite punchline. I'm not very fan of this. I mean, for me, this society is a lot in this. For me, it's not constructive. It's not an argument saying that. It's just criticism is easy, art is difficult. It is, because it's true. By the way, this is what I can go just to deepen a little bit. This is for me very important. Why I'm so sometimes involved in it is because I cannot bear, I don't like at all, not only for me, for in general. It's so easy to have big mouth and not to do anything. Okay, this is like a project. When people have a project, association for eco-friendly, for I don't know, whatever, and people just they don't do anything, and they just say, we tried long time ago, doesn't work, it will not work, this is bullshit, and so on. Okay, but I tried my best, and my intention, I realized my intention, I did it at least. Okay, what did you do? Okay, concretely. So that's the point. Why it's so important? Because it's in the building of this new era, this new society, and so on. If we want something harmonious, we cannot afford to have some people, you know, what we call mirador. Mirador, mirar in Spanish means observe, the observer, you know, this is in military process. The mirador, you know, with the weapon like this, and as long as someone arrives, they shoot. And this is super annoying. Why? Because it impedes the, let's say, the good evolution, the spontaneity of those who try their best. They try at least. When you have this type of person in an association, in a group, in a family, in a company, and so on, is a nightmare. Why? Because they impede, they block the natural process of spontaneity and so on, the creativity and so on. And people are ashamed, and people don't dare anymore. Why? Because they are afraid to be judged, they are afraid to fail, not to do perfectly and so on. Perfection is not from this world. So this is, I even think, you know, to be even provocative, I think it would be even better that people refrain from criticizing than doing things. I even prefer that there is no criticism, like a negative one. I'm not talking about constructive and so on. It's another story. It's not the goal to be homogeneous society. Not at all. It's not this. But those who are always, you know, haters, literally haters, they are against everything. Okay, you know, so this is for me really a big problem. So then another technique is the fact to express and to explain to the person. It can be cash, can be, I mean, expressly or subtly said in a certain extent. Why you judge, or why do you want to compare? There is room for everybody. You know, you are very talented, so you have your Lebensraum. In German, it means your vital space. You know, we need your comfort area. Okay, it's natural, it's even wild, it's animal, it's the nature. That's why, you know, cats, animal, and so on, they are very nice. They are not aggressive. They don't want to do bad thing for bad things. This is their instinct. And you know, the cats, for instance, they pee in the corners, okay, for having this space, okay, and they respect naturally this areas. It's the same thing. This is exactly the same thing in psychology. You know, in a group, in a group of friends, in a family, in the, let's say, the business world in general. I work for big groups, you know, massive distribution, multinational, and so on. Now I'm CEO for 10 years, but before I was an employee in big groups with hierarchy and so on, and you are obliged to respect the it's really tough. The politics, oh, he's a friend of this one, and this, they hate each other and so on. Wow, it's complex. But what I try to tell you, that most of the time, it's respecting. As long as you show to someone, you demonstrate certainly that you respect or you admire. Well, this is another technique within, when you praise someone, for example, and you just say, oh, you're very talented, or the person will be less judged, will be less critical. Okay, so this is a good way as well. Okay, but why? Because if you say indirectly, I don't want to take your seat, or if you say, oh, oh, your job, you are my manager. Oh, honestly, I know it should be hard and so on. I don't have the competencies. And by the way, even if I would be offered your job, I would never want. It's too difficult. I don't have the competencies, and also I don't want. It's too much responsibility. I prefer my lover and so on. If you say that indirectly, not necessarily cash, the person will feel better. Okay, or the thing also just to, to ask the opinion, the collaboration of people. It's reduce this notion of defensive dimension. It's the same principle. Even okay, eventually I meet a couple of people. And I just in the discussion explained that I'm the father of my kids with my wife. I love her. She's talented and so on. We are a very, let's say harmonious couple. The man probably will feel better. Why? You know it. Okay, so it's about jealousy, for love. But it's really this, the notion of territories in general. Okay, we are animals at the end. So this is the notion of the fact to this is really linked to ego. I say before, ego. The big difficulty of ego is the fact that the ego, referring to key 9, is the fruits, the consequences of this is the personality. The personality I explained, the persona means the mask. So we have different layers and the different masks that we hold due to education, due to culture, due to religion, country, and so on and so forth. Okay, character. And then this is an identification of this mask, of these costumes, but we are not this person. This is not our true self. This is not the real I am. Okay? But the problem of the ego is the ego, the way of eating is to separate his reason for being, to exist. He needs to separate from unity. Okay? So, and by the way, the etymology I say already of the word in English to exist, existing, means literally to separate from the other, from the unity. Okay, so the reason for being of the ego is not the consensus. He wants necessarily to separate. She's bad, he's better, and so on, comparison. And always to fragments, okay? So that's why I say in a book that you can find Sage Passage, Utopia, and or Synthesis of Saint Thesis, okay? In both are for free. You can download from my website. The following: the ego is like a black hole, okay? Certainly, it is at the center of our existence. Its attraction and repulsion allow the stability of life. However, if badly managed, it can absorb everything in its path towards nothingness. So it's physics, but it's also psychology. Of course, okay, when I say the reason for being of the black hole and is like ego, the notion of attraction and repulsion, okay, for the positive, for the negative, or attraction too much for jealousy, I want to keep him, keep her, and so on. When you're jealous for your couple, for instance, or for your friends, the exclusivity, you want to have all lights on you and so on. This is for the stability, a good balance, okay? Repulsion and attraction is a good balance. But also, it can absorb everything like the black hole. The black hole has such a density that it's absorbing everything. Okay, so even the lights, okay, and everything. So it's the same thing. For example, I'm positive and so on, and someone attacked me. Okay, I replied nicely. Second time, third time, something. And so many like this. Maybe after a certain time, or I don't reply, for example, and people say, he's arrogant, and so on, look at this, he's even pay attention to us, and so on. And after a while, you cannot, those who are feeling bad, they are the suffering of a disease, which is bitterness or hate. They want to share the frustration with other people, you know, probably to release in a certain extent. So those who want to fight, they want to fight. Okay, you say A, they would say, something different, you know. So, and it's really tough to maintain, your direction, and to be stable is really difficult, to be frank with you. Well, let's continue. Less conventional techniques is the protection ritual rites, okay? Like the shield of light. I already talked about that. The ball of light, for example, you visualize a ball of light, okay, to avoid bad energies, for instance. Or another one is to ask the protection from God, if you believe, or whatever the name, Allah, Yahweh, whoever, Brahma, your guides, or your ancestors, or a protection, or your higher self, or whatever you want, just a protection. Another techniques, you repeat a mantra, a prayer, a mantra. I'm protected thanks to myself, or thanks to God. I'm protected. I feel protected. I'm safe. I'm harmonious, and so on. All this kind of thing. Another way is the magical purification shower. What is it concretely? As a visualization, you take a shower and you visualize the kind with the water, like taking out, cleaning, let's say, all your potential bad energies that you receive. Okay, it's like cleansing. You know, when you do Muslim or other religion, when they do ablution, you know, when you clean at the beginning your hands and then mouth. What is it concretely? Your hands, your mouth, then this is to purify yourself of the bad emission and the bad reception. So it's the same principle. I remember when I was a teenager, I had this inspiration of that. It was a movie, and the guy was a cop, a policeman. It was going on, and I think a woman wanted to make love and so on. And he said, no, I go to take a shower, not because it was smelling, sweating and so on. No, it was, and he said, no, I need to take it out, all this shit. You see? So it's kind of this, okay? So visualizing kind of a beam of light, and you feel clean, it's good also. Another point is the detachment. Detachment is, the game of the ego, the piece of theater. You just analyze, like a parody, the different characters, and you enjoy. Like you are watching a movie, a piece of theater, and you see how people are playing perfectly their role of the arrogant person, the little dictator, the chief, and so on, and you're always crying and so on. And you try to see, and you detach yourself, you analyze, you're part of it, and you play the role as well, but you're not affected. Okay, he's attacking me because he don't feel comfortable. Okay, so, and when you see like this, you give less power to your ego. Okay, so you have less emotions, you are less affected, and step by step, you take a certain eighth, and thereby detachment. Well, let's continue. It's important also to understand your own, this is the link with the second part, which is how to manage your own criticism and envy and jealousy, is to understand and to know your own criticism and envy. Why? Because this reduces the power of other people. Okay, when you know that you have a part of it also, it's reduced. Okay, you are more tolerant also towards the criticism. Before criticizing or being jealous, make your self-criticism, self-analysis. That's really important. If I refer to a cultural reference to the Bible, John 8:7, let him who is without sin among you be the first to cast a stone at her. It's when Jesus just say, okay, go ahead. She was cheating her husband apparently. So cast a stone if you consider that you're crystal clear. I mean, if you are completely without any sin, okay, so nobody is doing, okay, because nobody is perfect, all right? So that's the point of this. The second from the Bible is Matthew 7:3. Why do you look at this speck in your brother's eye, but fail to notice the beam in your own eye? Okay, match the difference between the speck, okay, little speck, and the beam in your eye. You see the default of someone, but you don't see your enormous, the small default of the other people. It's easy because it's outside, but you don't see the enormous one in your eyes. Okay, that's the point. And another one is from Baal Shem Tov. It's Orthodox Aredim or Hasidim from Poland, Polish mystic from, if my memory is correct, 18th century. He said the following very beautiful sentence: the man next to you is your mirror. If your own face is pure, the image you perceive will also be perfect. On the other way around, if you see a fault in the man next to you, it's your own imperfection that you discover. It is you. Show what you have to correct about yourself. Concretely, this is another technique, is the mirror game, is the fact that everybody, referring to Celestine prophecy, everybody is mirroring. It means that starting from the point that everything is the consciousness means the conscious God, okay, the overall. We are part of it. We are a fragment of it, an alveolus of the cosmic breath, cosmic lung. Concretely, it means that we are mirroring. Okay, so it means that if I'm criticizing, it's because I even jealousy or something, injustice and so on, something is not stable within me. I didn't clean enough. Okay, so that's important. Another point to analyze where this criticism or this frustration is coming from, to diagnose the origin from the childhood, from trauma, from comparison, from inferiority complex, from a projection, a transfer, whatever. Okay, it's important to analyze. Then to focus on your own defaults and your own shadows. It allows you to be more tolerant. Another way is to use like like a dam, okay, and you fine-tuning like a let's say gauge and valve, okay, and you adjust, okay, you try not to open too much, like a gymnastics, okay, like stretch. You try your best to reduce the amount of jealousy, the amount of criticism. Okay, it's exactly the same gymnastics. This is neuroplasticity. The more you walk on the park, the more you are tracing a track, a pathway. Okay, it's the same for your neurons. The more you are ruminating, the more you are, let's say, adjusting, settling your mindsets. Okay, so that's important to reprogram yourself like this. Okay, so avoid a maximum to ruminate and to judge all the time. So I mean, reduce. It's like negativity, to always to blame, to always to see, to perceive negatively. A maximum, and this is a problem, is a gymnastic. It takes time if it's your habits. Then rationalize. It means try to focus on the negative part of always judging, always blaming, always criticizing. It's tiring for everybody. It's tiring first for yourself. It's bad energy for yourself. It's tiring. It's affecting your health in general. It's lower your vibration and so on. So even if you start in it, it will push you. It's like, addiction. When you focus on what the negative part bringing you the fruit of your addiction, alcohol, drugs, and so on, you are more in a favor of launching the process of stopping. Okay, then focus on your own alignments. What does it mean? Your mission, your intention, okay, regarding the key 51. It's really important. My intention is to do that. Okay, it's maybe is your perception. Okay, you put your black sunglasses, so you see everything black. Okay, even The Little Prince is a nightmare book for you. So I try my best to do good. Okay, it's my mission, is my intention. You perceive it like I do for showing off, or it's bad and so on. Okay, it's your own judgment. It doesn't belong to me. That's the point. Okay, so then to focusing on the half full glass instead of the empty glass. What does it mean? It means focus on those who are vibrating, matching with your intention and so on. Those who are blindly criticizing and so on all the time, forget it about them. Okay, don't focus. Do you want to be loved or appreciated by hooligans, killers, murderers, neo-Nazi and so on? Do you want? Personally, not really. So that's the point. Okay, so it's a little bit extreme, but don't focus on those who are not necessarily balanced. They are full of hate. This is their own problem. When you have an emotion, don't struggle with them, okay, with it or with them if you have more. Try to let it go. Like a cloud, it's passing naturally and so on. Just don't ruminate, as we say before, referring to the key 32. Try to just punch in a punching ball, shout, go for a run and so on, but don't keep it for you. It's good to let it go. Otherwise, you are somatizing, so you are converting into disease. Okay, disease when you are not at ease. Okay, it's disharmonious process. Okay, some advice. Keep in mind that nobody in history has never been unanimous. What does it mean? Nobody has been accepted always by everybody. The Buddha, Jesus, Mani, Muhammad, Spinoza, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and so on and so forth. None of them, all of them, they have been mocked, criticized, unpopular, and so on and so forth. Okay, even imagine Nelson Mandela. He spent 29 years in jail. At the beginning, he was really aggressive. He was really in low vibration because of the injustice. And after a while, he was compassionate. And when he finished, he went out. He said to those who put in jail that there will be no vengeance and so on. And he has to the population to be solidary and to be respectful and so on. And even his own family reproached him to be too tolerant. Imagine. So it's impossible to be appreciated. Everybody has been criticized. You can also you're not obliged to appreciate 100% of the people. Okay, this is what I try to explain every time, always. Focus on the percentage that you appreciate, the ideas that you appreciate, the qualities, the skills that you appreciate among a person. Okay, a politics, a group, an idea, a movie, a book, and so on. Don't burn a book because a comma disturb you. Okay, because one idea is not matching, vibrating. Okay. Go through it. It's not a big deal, you know? And perfection is not from these planets. Okay, so if we are expecting the perfection, it's better not to live anymore, because we will never find it, and we would be always frustrated. Develop empathy, of course, which is the key, the previous key, 52. Compassion to avoid the judgments all the time, important. Self-analysis as well. This is important to have self-analysis and then your vision and your position. What does it mean? Okay, you can question yourself, analyze to improve yourself, but not all the time. I mean, after a while, your alliance, you have your positioning, your mission, and your vision. I give you some examples. When we create the website Shambali, and I invite you is not to make advertising, not at all. The website Shambali, Shambali, SHAMBALI.com, Shambali.com. The website, personally, I think is very beautiful. I like it. I really love it. Okay. When we launched it a few years ago, 4 years ago, I think, I just asked the opinion to my network. Okay. And if I would have listened all the remarks, I would have destroyed everything. Why? Because let's say this part, some people were criticizing negatively, some people were happy of it, and so on. Everything was some people in favor, some people against. So if I had listened to everybody, I would have destroyed and changed everything. Okay, so what does it mean? It means it's important to listen to people, to have a self-analysis and so on, but it's the same principle when for politics, this is also, let's say, democracy. Democracy means that the fact to respect that, okay, the guy at the power is someone I didn't vote, maybe, but okay, it's fair enough. Okay, it's like this. Or we don't have the same opinion. I'm CEO, sometimes I'm obliged to take the final decisions. That's a matter of fact. Okay, we cannot always discuss, so that's important to have the good balance, the good dosing between too much self-analysis and discussing and the consensus, and after a while you need also to have your position. That's important. Then it's like some people, I give you my personal feeling. I don't have any complex anymore. Okay, it's not because I'm arrogant. It's because I worked a lot. Okay, it doesn't mean that I don't have any weaknesses. I have weaknesses. I know them. I work on them, and so on. I still have, but complex, no, I don't have. So I feel confident. Okay, so some people who are not necessarily confident at all, they think I'm arrogant. And it's not the point. It's not this is their perception, because they do a transfer. They reproach me the fact that they don't have access to this. Okay, but it's not my fault. You understand? So don't excuse yourself for being what you are at a certain level. You can be humble. I try to be humble. I never show off for, oh, look at, I reached that. No, I don't think I am like this. And if some people perceive like this, it's not my intention. But so, be what you are as well. Okay, this is important to find the good balance between the extremes, of course. Then, to share a little bit, everybody who acts is necessarily criticized. And those who are not criticized, it's not because everybody loves them, it's because they don't do anything. It's impossible otherwise. I told you, Jesus, Buddha, and so on, always they have been judged and negatively. I give you some example. I had even recently some, let's say, the best of my criticizes that I received recently, 3 weeks ago, a guy. So I try to share social media and so on to bring people on my YouTube channel. I have no interest for that, or to the promotion of my books. They are for free. So why do I do this? Why I spend so much time for that? So, and the guys say, what's your plan? What's your agenda? I'm sure you will reveal your Satanist church or whatever. My Satanist? How come you can perceive me like this regarding all the messages I try to give? All my books, all my quotes, all my when you watch my videos, we can imagine that nobody think I'm Satanist. It would be the worst thing, okay? So I even didn't reply anything because I said, okay, it's too much. The guy is in his... I didn't reply, to be honest with you. But it was kind of, at this extreme, is funny. I had a good one as well. It was when we did well-rounded meditation. We launched it December 2018, 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago for the solstice. And we were more than 3,000 people. And some people contact me, like association and French people, and they reproach me to have been the responsible of because of the false the false light, okay, false light, but it was just supposed to be a meditation for light, for opening our heart, 9 minutes. If you listen to the meditation, I will give the link. How come you can think that? But anyway, and they reproach me to be responsible of the earthquake in Indonesia at this period of time. And I said, it's a joke? Are you serious? And they were serious. And it lasts me a few weeks like this. And okay, so at this extreme, what do you want to do? Nothing. Okay, so anyway, you know, this is something in the Taoism from Lao Tzu. He said, try always to reply nicely and with intelligence to ignorance. And it's quite tough sometimes, because at this level, what do you want to do? So, yeah, I had recently an interview and some people, a lot of people, they were, we try our best with the guy who he proposed to me this interview. He's a nice guy and so on. I went there and so on. I spent all my day. I invest all my day for nothing, just to try to help people, to give some advice and so on and so on. And a guy said at the beginning, I could not stand more than 5 minutes and so on, because the guy is blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you cannot watch more than 5 minutes, you cannot judge first. Then another guy was, I smell business. But if you would have listened properly, you would have heard that my 16 books are for free. So I have nothing to sell at all. And so on. It was only things like this, you know. It was kind of at the end funny, or I don't feel him. You should be pay attention to this guy and so on. I don't feel him. Okay, so the guy, by the way, the interviewer replied, be careful of your intuition, because he's absolutely not a good intuition. I know him, we are friends and so on, and he's a good guy and so on. Anyway, you know, this type of thing. I'm not gonna spend too much time on that, because you would, you know, even I did a list, even by thinking, okay, I can have a laugh now, okay? But some people like, you know, saying he's talking a few weeks ago. He talks. Okay, so what's the point of doing it? What's your intention to do that? Just bashing, just to piss me off, just to... I spend time for that, so why? What's the point? I just try my best as I can to help people. That's it. Okay, it was my intention. It was funny because it was in the key intention in his French part, and okay, I asked him, "What's your intention with this message?" Okay, so another guys, I remember I did audiobook, 24 hours of audiobook, so 3 tomes. Imagine to write and then to record and so on, the time I need. Too long, 3 times. Copy, paste. And I say, why? Why are you spending so much time for that? I spend much more time for making it. What's the point of doing that? Does you feel better after that? And so on. It was funny, another guy, I saw, was a Chinese guy, he was on my LinkedIn, he said, too many words. Yes, it's the principle of a book. You know, so, but anyway, you know, and the risk of this is to feel bitter because of that. You see, so that's why I say it's a very, very pernicious, very dangerous topic, because you can be like a black hole, absorb and in the nothingness. Anyway, keep in mind, everybody is subject to criticism. That's a matter of fact. If we do things, is normal, is a part of the game. It's important to have the good mix between self-analysis, questioning, and affirmation, positioning, as I say. And there is no miracle recipe, but only miracle adaptation. This is only one key for you to shape your master key to open up the door of consciousness and the door that you want, basically. As you know, all the roads lead to Rome and to the dome and to home. Thank you for your attention and see you very soon.